Hi, I'm Cassandra Parton, Managing Director with NextTech Learning. Welcome to NextTech's weekly live broadcast, where we share relevant updates to help you implement successful employee development methods. In today's broadcast, I'm joined by Graeme Taylor in a conversation around current job market situation in the field of IT and what steps you can take to help keep yourself motivated, work on your skills and your CV during this downtime. Graeme is an IT infrastructure manager and is currently in the market for a new challenge himself. He has over 15 years experience working in the oil and gas sector in the UK before he moved to Australia to look after major IT infrastructure projects and network systems with Caulfield Australia. Sorry, not Caulfield, Caulfield Australia. We're really excited to have you on board, Graeme. Perhaps you can start off by telling us a little bit more about yourself.
Yep, so as you mentioned, I'm originally from the UK, and after graduating, I spent 15 years working for a safety consultancy in the oil and gas sector. I then moved to Australia when that's about 5.5 years ago. And since then, the last 2.5 years of that, I've been working for Kaufland, building all the infrastructure to run a national and nationwide retail chain. Unfortunately, back in January, our international board decided to pull our funding back into Europe. And so that's why I find myself in the job market.
Yeah, so what would you say, Graeme, has given you the most traction in the job market to date?
Really, for me, it's been the experience I've gained over the last 2.5 years. So going from a small startup company with one rack of infrastructure to redundant data centers and enterprise grade equipment ready to implement in stores, warehouses, and the offices that we built. That kind of experience is something that you don't get very often within the industry. So that stood me in really good stead.
Definitely. So I understand from our previous conversation, you were saying you were interviewing for a few interesting roles. Obviously, you got the notification back in January, starting to plan, and then Australia goes into lockdown in mid-March. So tell me a little bit about those roles, what happened with those positions, and how have you found the market since?
Like you say, I was involved in. I was actively interviewing in several interesting roles. They were across different sectors. And then when obviously the virus hit and we went into lockdown, everything evaporated and all the roles were put on ice until more certainty was actually created around how the world would look and when things would start to get back to normal. Since obviously immediately after the lockdown came into effect, the job market dried up completely, but I do see more roles coming back online now. So hopefully business is actually starting to feel a bit more certain about how things are going to go forward.
Definitely. And obviously, as those restrictions ease, people are going back to work. We've already seen on Seek and other job boards, more and more jobs are being advertised. That's definitely a good move forward. But you're right. I think it's just in that early stages now, right? So that's a positive thing. It is on the move forward, which is great. How did you strategize your next move? So from kind of mid-March, kind of where did you kind of plan the next 2 to 3 months, or how did you plan the next 2 to 3 months?
Good question, because obviously in times such as these, there's no real previous information that you can draw on to how do you go through a pandemic.
And who knew this was going to happen,
yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So realistically, I kind of went back to the drawing board a bit and connected with more people and kept up with my network through LinkedIn. Fortunately, at that time, there were a lot of people working in HR and recruitment that were very happy to give their time to assist, whether that be in CV building or in just how to actually better get yourself out there in the market. And there were several several things that came from that, which I've been doing, which is first of all really to maintain your network. It's not impossible to do it without being face to face. It's certainly more challenging, but it's certainly not impossible to do. And fill gaps in your CV. To undertake any training and courses that you can to actually upskill yourself. And also to participate in things like webinars and just to keep yourself abreast of what's going on in the industry, because IT is always going to be a very fast changing environment to be in. So if you get yourself out of the game completely for a period, then you'll find that there's been a lot of developments go on in the meantime that you need to keep up with.
For sure. And I'm aware, obviously, that you actually completed a webinar and a session with us on Azure. So, I think it's really great to be looking at different things, either free webinars or low cost training that you can actually put yourself to upskill yourself in an area that you may not have worked in previously. So I think, IT is constantly changing. So I think that's a really good approach. Tell me a little bit more about your secret. I mean, I want to know what new hobby have you picked up during this period? There's going to be, apart from all these webinars and these amazing training sessions you're doing, what is a new hobby you picked up during this period?
So, been spending a lot more time with my family. I got a lot better at brushing my 4-year-old daughter's hair without making her cry, which is great.
Learn how to braid or anything like that?
No, that's the advanced course, Cassandra. I'm not quite there yet.
No, that's good. And you're right. I think spending time with family, I mean, we all go to work. It's such a hustle and bustle period, right? You just get caught up in that. So although it's a challenging time being out of work, because a lot of, all of us kind of, we have that sense of who we are by what we do, right? But kind of taking it a step aside and going, well, the positive factors, I'm spending more time with my family and really embracing this period, because we may not have it again. And,
absolutely.
And hopefully this situation doesn't happen again, but you might not get that opportunity. So really embracing that, I think, is really, really crucial. Tell me a little bit more about how you keep yourself motivated during this challenging time. Do you have a structure that you set yourself up for each day, or what's your secret on keeping motivated?
So keeping motivated is twofold, really. So first of all, it's my wife and children. So it's there's things that we want to achieve individually and collectively. So it's a real motivating factor to actually keep going and actually come out the other side in a better place. And also for myself, certainly since I've been in Australia, I've been really driven with my career, and I really want to keep that on the right trajectory. So those are the real motivating factors for me.
Definitely. No, that's really good. And Graeme, can you just give, our job seekers that are looking at watching this video today, maybe they're going through a similar situation as yourself. You and I had a conversation about video interviewing and how that's a completely different approach to the stock standard face-to-face. Maybe they're struggling with that. Maybe they're unsure of recruiters to reach out to or job boards. What would you, if you were to give 3 key points and advice to these people going through a similar situation to yourself, what would they be?
So first and foremost, it's to look after your own and your family's physical and mental health, because you're not going to be of any much use to an employer if you don't look after yourself and your family. So that for me is always got to be number one. Second of all, to really keep and maintain your network and try and grow your network. It's, as I mentioned earlier, it's certainly not impossible to do that right now. And there's lots of helpful people out there that are still offering their time and expertise to help you. So make use of that. It may not be there forever. Thirdly is something we touched on earlier, which is trying to upskill yourself and fill any gaps in your CV to just to give you that bit of an extra edge when you do find the interviews.
Definitely. You made a really good point. You must look after yourself, and look after yourself and your family. And I think it's fantastic to be looking at different ways you can upskill yourself in different areas, in that training and webinars, and keeping a good involvement on your LinkedIn and your network. But I think it's really important to invest in your mental health during this period as well. And it might be certain things like just trying to keep a schedule, or kind of keep some kind of normality in your life about time you wake up, or it might be reading more, or attending a workshop around managing anxiety or something like that. I think it's really important to be looking at not just kind of what you're doing to progress in maybe a different area or learn a different topic, but really kind of look after your mental health, because you bang on there, Graeme. I think it doesn't matter how much you try and upskill yourself. If you're not in the right frame of mind when you are either interviewing or when you go back to work, you're not going to be a benefit to any employer, or yourself or your family. So I think that's really, really important. And I definitely appreciate that point. Thank you so much for joining us today, Graeme. I really wish you all the best with your job search. I hope the webinars and the training that you've attended with NextTech have been some help and assistance to you. NextTech are offering lots of webinars. We hold webinars monthly. We have heavily discounted Microsoft training. We're doing more of the course that you attended, Graeme, the Azure Fundamentals course. We've got more Microsoft one-day courses coming through for $150. That's reduced from around $900. So crazy discounted prices there. If you're interested in moving into a managerial role, we actually have an emerging leaders program that's starting on Tuesday next week. So these are actually going to be happening every month. So every fortnight, apologies. So you can attend one of our emerging leaders programs, reach out to a NextTech representative, and we can supply you through some details of different options that might be of interest to you to utilize this time. Other than just kind of Netflix and chilling, I think we need to look at ways that we can utilize this time in an efficient way, and learn some new skills on the other side of that. So look, really appreciate your time, Graeme. If you were to share one final point with our viewers here, just kind of one final tip, what would you say?
It's to be proactive. So alongside everything else that we've discussed, is to really be proactive. Reach out and talk to companies that you respect. Reach out and talk to recruiters. Make sure that you keep abreast of what situations are coming up daily, because I think the latest figures that I read last week, there was something like 600,000 more unemployed people in Australia at the moment. And so in every job, in every sector, there's going to be more candidates. So anything that can give you an edge, you really need to be proactive about.
That's 100%. I agree with you there. That's really, really important. So thank you so much, Graeme. And again, we wish you the very best in your job search. And thank you everyone for joining us today. We hope to see you again. We hold these weekly broadcasts Thursday, 1 o'clock every week. We have a different topic every week, and we really, really look forward to having you join us again next week. Thank you so much. And Graeme, have a great day.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thanks.